Chris Rock threw a comedy grenade at Donald Trump, but Karoline Leavitt turned the blast back on him all live on air. It all unfolded on national TV. The lights hit the stage. Comedy legend Chris Rock strolled out, mic in hand, grin locked in place. With the crowd ready, he fired his first shot straight at Trump. Melania doesn't live in the White House, and she's trapped in it, praying Donald disappears like one of his bankrupt casinos. Laughter erupted, but then everything shifted. Enter Karoline Leavitt. Sharp navy suit, icy stare. She didn't crack a smile. She didn't need to. The room's mood flipped as she took her seat. It wasn't a panel anymore, it was a battleground. Host Samantha Pierce stepped into the spotlight, all polished charm and professional curiosity. Tonight on The Pulse, two heavyweights, Chris Rock and Karoline Leavitt. The audience roared. As Rock took his seat, already loaded and ready, Samantha leaned in. "Chris, your Melania Trump joke went viral last week. What were you getting at?" Rock laughed big, leaned back, and let it rip. "Melania's not a first lady. She's a fashion model locked in a marriage even the worst divorce lawyer wouldn't touch. I bet every night she stares in the mirror practicing 'I'm fine' in 5 languages, praying for a Category 5 to sweep Donald off to sea." More laughter. Rock stood up, pacing like a boxer before the bell. "Have you seen her in those press briefings? Standing next to him like, 'I left Milan Fashion Week for this guy? The one who stared into an eclipse?' Trump runs America like a canceled episode of The Apprentice. Low ratings and no one to fire but himself. He kept swinging. From 2017 to 2021, she showed up publicly with him less than 200 times. Fewer than the tweets he posted from the White House. The audience couldn't contain it. Applause. Whistles. Samantha tried to rein it in. "Chris, stats aside, don't you think that's a bit much?" "A bit much? Samantha, I haven't even started." He pointed the finger at Trump again. "This guy thinks he's King Midas, but everything he touches tanks, casinos, airlines, this marriage. Melania's real gold stuck in Trump's rusty eye. Copper furnace. I bet she wanted a divorce the second he tried buying Greenland like it was a KFC family bucket." More howls from the crowd. But then, the room shifted. Stage right, Karoline Leavitt stepped out. The chatter died. She moved like a storm brewing. Blonde hair up, suit crisp, gaze cold. She sat across from Rock, silent. Calculating. "Oh, look." Rock grinned. "Trump's rescue squad's here. What now? Secret Service? Or you got a spare copy of that prenup Melania signed by mistake?" Few chuckles. But the room was heavy now. Samantha tried to bridge the moment. "Karoline, you've heard Chris. Thoughts?" Leavitt didn't answer, just tapped her fingers. Slowly. Rock didn't flinch. "Karoline, I know you're on the Trump payroll. What's that, $180K a year? Even you gotta see Melania looks at Trump the way I look at my taxes. That's fear." He leaned in. "She's been polishing his image since the eclipse fiasco. I bet she wanted to scream, 'Donald, I can't see not just the sun but my future.' But no, she's stuck. And Trump thinks they're America's royal couple. Like he thinks he won with 100% of the vote. He turned to Leavitt. This kid can say whatever. But Melania signed the worst deal in history. Worse than the one Trump signed with voters. He lost by 7 million. I've got stats. Since his first term, she's smiled publicly just 12 times. I counted. Google it." He wrapped it up. Like a pro. And Trump? He grins every day. Thinks he's a genius, but what kind of genius has a wife who looks ready to bolt every time she's seen? The studio erupted. Rock dropped back into his seat, arms wide like he just nailed the closing line of a sold-out set. "I'm just saying what everybody's thinking. Melania's a luxury prisoner. And Trump? He's the warden who lost the key. The self-appointed warden with the worst wig on the planet. She doesn't need me to speak for her. Just look at her face when she's standing next to him. I'd bet good money she's got a draft divorce letter saved on her laptop just waiting for his term to end." Samantha gave an awkward laugh. "Chris, you're taking it to another level." Rock shrugged, eyes gleaming with mischief. "It's my job, Samantha. I tell the truth. And the truth? It's funnier than anything Trump ever dreamed up. He settled back into his seat, twirling the mic like he'd just won a round. Samantha, stunned but intrigued, turned to Karoline Leavitt. Karoline, he just said a lot about the president's family. You've heard it all. What do you think? The studio went silent, every head turned. Karoline stood up slowly, hands free, posture tall, eyes sharp as glass. She stepped toward Rock, calm but charged. Chris, you done now? Because I'll show you what truth looks like. Rock smirked, ready to fire back. Oh, the kid wants to play now, all right. But Leavitt raised a hand, slicing through the moment. Her voice thundered over the crowd. Don't call me kid, Chris. I'm the White House press secretary, and I'm not here to play cheap comedy games with you. The crowd froze. You think you can stand here, spin lies about the president's family, and laugh it off like some street clown? You're wrong. Rock tilted his head, trying to hold his swagger. Lies? I'm just saying what everybody sees. Leavitt didn't back down. No, you're not telling the truth. You're lying, and I'll prove it. She turned to the audience. Chris just called Melania a luxury prisoner who signed the worst deal in history. Where are your stats from, Chris? Google? Or that imagination-filled head of yours? She didn't wait for a response. Here are the facts. In President Trump's first term, the First Lady hosted over 50 charity events. She met with more than 30 heads of state. She represented this country on 15 international trips. That's not a prisoner. That's a strong, dedicated, and dignified woman. Rock laughed, trying to regain footing. 50 charity events. Impressive. But did you count how many times she looked at Trump like she wanted to run? Leavitt stepped closer. You want to talk looks? Fine. I see a woman who stood by her husband through campaigns, crises, and every storm the media threw at them. Who have you stood by, Chris, besides your mic and a paycheck from a crowd looking for cheap laughs? Gasps filled the room. The applause started to swell. Rock opened his mouth, but Leavitt steamrolled forward. You say she wants Trump swept away? I've got 20 years of proof that says otherwise. She stood by him through 3 campaigns, countless attacks, and global pressure. That's not a prisoner. That's commitment. A word you clearly don't understand. Samantha tried to interject. Karoline, you're defending pretty hard. I'm not just defending, Leavitt said sharply. I'm correcting what Chris twisted. He's standing here mocking a woman who's not even here to respond, saying she barely smiled. When did a smile define strength? Melania Trump doesn't need to prove herself to you. And frankly, Chris, you need laughs to hide the fact that you've got nothing left to say. The crowd roared. Rock's grip on the mic tightened. Stale, I'm Chris Rock. You can't. Leavitt cut in. Yeah, you're Chris Rock. And, tonight, you're just a faded comedian clawing at relevance by throwing punches at people who can't punch back. Rock stood up, trying to steady himself. Fame? I was famous before you were born, kid. Melania doesn't need your defensing. She's smart enough to know Trump's. Don't call me kid again, Chris, Leavitt snapped. I was born for this. What were you born for? Making a career out of slandering a family that served this country? You say Trump ruins everything? Under his first term, GDP grew 3%. Unemployment dropped to 3.5% pre-pandemic. That's called achievement. What's your biggest win, an HBO special from 2003? Thunderous applause broke out. Some in the audience shouted, Right on, Karoline. Rock winced, trying to jump. Back in. GDP? Are we turning this into a press briefing? I'm talking about Melania. But Leavitt fired right back. No, you're talking about the president's family, and that means you're talking about me, and I'm here to protect them. You think you can throw stones and hide behind punchlines? Not happening, Chris. You want truth? Fine. Truth is, Melania Trump worked tirelessly for children, for peace. While you sit there mocking her from the safety of a stage, you call it comedy. I call it cowardice. The audience burst into applause again, her support drowning out the last of Rock's chuckles. Samantha Pierce raised a hand, trying to cool things down. Okay, you're both strong voices, but Leavitt wasn't done. She stared Rock down. You called me rescue squad. No, Chris, I'm the one cleaning up your mess. Want a joke? Make one about yourself, because tonight you're the biggest laugh in the room. Rock's smirk vanished. His hand trembled on the mic. His eyes burned with fury. Samantha tried again. Chris? Want to respond? The crowd went still. Rock shot up from his seat, voice rising into a shout. Respond? You think I'm just gonna sit here and let this kid school me? I'm Chris Rock. I don't need anyone telling me what to say or do. A few scattered laughs rose, but the fire in the room had cooled. The momentum was gone. Rock jabbed a finger at Leavitt, his voice cracking. You think you're better than me? You throw out GDP numbers like anyone cares. I'm not here for politics. I'm here to tell the truth people see. Melania Trump looks at Donald like she wants out. You can't deny it. He stepped toward Leavitt's table, slammed, the mic down, the sound sharp, piercing. I was doing comedy before you could read. I don't need you telling me what's cowardly or not. Who are you to talk to me like that? A few whistles, but the applause had thinned. Even the crowd could sense him unraveling. Leavitt sat still, eyes locked on his. Then she stood, voice like ice. You can yell. You can slam tables. Doesn't make your words any truer. You call me kid. I'm the White House press secretary. I stand for truth, not whatever circus you brought here tonight. The audience roared in agreement. Rock tried to butt in. Truth? That charity statty? Piles your truth? Leavitt didn't blink. No, you don't see truth. You see what you want, twist it for a laugh and toss it out like it's harmless. But I won't let you make Melania Trump your punchline just to satisfy your ego. Rock's face flushed, deeper. He shouted back, No! I'm the only one here daring to say it. Melania's stuck with Trump and everyone knows it. You can toss out 50 events and 3% GDP all day, but you can't fake how she stands next to him, like she's trapped in a golden cage. He turned to the audience, arms wide. You all see it, right? I don't need stats and I've got eyes. Some laughs trickled in, but the energy was flat. Leavitt shot back, cool and cutting. You've got eyes, sure, but no truth. You say she's stuck. I see a woman who chose to stay, who served this country in her own right. What have you done, Chris, besides yell like a child throwing a tantrum? Gasps. Applause swelling again. Rock flinched, voice shrill. Kid? You dare call me a kid? I'm Chris Rock, 3 Emmys, 2 Grammys, millions watch me every year. And you're just Trump's mouthpiece reading speeches he won't even write. He pointed at her, hand shaking. You think you beat me with numbers? I don't care. I say what people think, and they laugh because I'm right. Leavitt smiled, cold and sharp. They laugh because you're a clown, Chris. I don't need Emmys. I've got truth. You call me a lackey? I'm the one shielding the president's family from people like you who think lying louder makes it talent. Samantha tried again. Chris, Karoline, please. But Rock snapped. No, let me talk. She can't shut me up. Melania's a prisoner. I bet she wrote that divorce paper the day Trump stared at the eclipse like an idiot. I don't need you, kid, telling me what's real. He slammed the mic again, breath short. Leavitt stepped forward, voice low but sharp enough to cut steel. You bet? I bet you've got nothing but a big mouth. You say she wrote a divorce paper? I say she's been with the president over 20 years, through more than you'll ever understand. You hide in jokes. She faced real storms. You mock. She acted. The audience rose in applause. Rock's protests drowned out. He tried one last time, pointing with a shaking finger. You can't beat me. But Leavitt's final words cut through. Everything. Calm. Final. Face it, Chris, tonight you lost. Yell all you want. Truth doesn't flinch, and I just proved it to millions. The crowd exploded in cheers. Leavitt stood tall. Rock stood silent. His face was flushed, mic slipping in his grip, eyes darting between fury and disbelief. He tried to muster a smile, but it came out twisted, hollow. All the bravado was gone. Samantha Pierce raised a tentative hand, her voice uncertain. Okay, maybe we all need a breather, but Leavitt didn't blink. Still seated, her gaze locked on Rock. I don't need a breather, Samantha. I'm done, and so is he. Rock turned toward the crowd, trying to shout over the roar. I'm not done. But Her applause crushed his words like a wave. He stepped back, chest heaving, fist clenched. The lights caught him just right. Chris Rock standing there, mic dangling like a broken sword. Across from him, Karoline Leavitt sat calm, a faint, victorious smile flickering at the corner of her lips. Samantha's voice trembled as she addressed the camera. This just hit a new peak, and Chris is losing ground. He's fast. We'll take a break, but don't go anywhere. The crowd stood, applause morphing into cheers. Some shouted, "Caroline's unreal." Phones rose like lighters at a concert. Chris spun, scanning the room, then, with a sudden roar, hurled the mic to the ground. The crash echoed. Without a word, he stormed off stage left. Leavitt stood, cool and composed. She adjusted her blazer, gave Samantha a small, knowing nod, and exited stage right. The studio screen switched to the Pulse logo, but the audience buzz didn't fade. Phones filmed Chris's retreat. Conversations lit up. Chris just got knocked out as she crushed him. #RockVLeavitt exploded across social media within minutes, trending globally. Clips circulated with captions like "Chris Rock just lost the fight of his career" and "Karoline Leavitt, comeback queen." But the real fireworks were just beginning. Backstage, Chris Rock shoved the green room door open, storming inside, breath ragged. His manager, Tony, mid-50s, graying, always calm, stood waiting, phone in hand. Rock slammed the table. "Who the hell is she to do that to me? I'm Chris Rock. I'm not letting some 27-year-old punk humiliate me in front of millions." Tony raised his hands, trying to keep the peace. "Chris, man, chill. She came in swinging, sure, but you've still got fans." "Fans? You hear that applause?" "They picked her, Tony." Rock's voice cracked. "I need to hit back, now. Call PR. Set up a live stream, tonight. I'm not letting this go." Tony nodded, uneasy. "Okay, but Chris, listen. Yelling won't work this time. She had stats, she had structure." Rock spun on him, eyes burning. "She called me a clown. I'll show her what a clown really looks like." He slammed, his fist on the table again, then collapsed into a chair, breathing hard, running a hand over his head. Rage simmered beneath the exhaustion. Across the building, Karoline Leavitt entered a small meeting room where her media team was already gathered. She placed both hands on the table, her voice steady, her confidence sharp. Chris Rock just dug his own grave on national television. "I did what I came to do." A young assistant with a ponytail looked up from her laptop, eyes wide with admiration. "You were amazing, Karoline, but..." He might respond, he's already talking about a live stream. Leavitt's smile widened slightly, eyes glinting. "Good. Let him. He's got nothing but volume and nostalgia. I proved that." She turned to another staffer. "Get the press team ready. Draft a statement, headline. White House press secretary defends truth against slander. We keep control of the narrative." The assistant nodded, fingers flying across the keyboard. Leavitt sat down, fingers tapping the table. Not from nerves, but the kind of cool energy that comes from knowing you've just won big. In the media news, networks pounced. CNN aired the clip on repeat. Rock tossing the mic, storming off. The ticker read, "Chris Rock faces off with Karoline Leavitt on the Pulse, and loses." The anchor's commentary followed. Chris Rock tried to take on the Trump family, but Karoline Leavitt shut him down with facts, poise, and some serious fire. It's rare to see a comedian outmatched on their own stage. Online, the sentiment was even louder. Karoline just made Chris the punchline. Rock shouted, but Leavitt sliced with precision. MVP of the night, Karoline Leavitt. Backstage, again, Rock paced, voice lower now, muttering to himself. She thinks she won. She thinks she's got the last word. Tony sat nearby, rubbing his temples. "Chris, she didn't just have facts. She had the crowd. You need a plan, not another outburst." Rock stopped, eyes blazing. "A plan? Here's the plan. I live stream. I burn her down. That's the plan." He stormed out again, leaving Tony behind in silence. The chaos not over, just shifting chapters. Tony shook his head, worry etched across his face. On the other side of the chaos, Leavitt scanned her phone, eyes flicking over a fresh PR update. "Statements out. Major outlets are running it, all in our favor. her comms lead said. Karoline nodded, almost to herself. If Chris wants to keep playing, fine, but he's out of moves. She rose from her chair and walked out with the composure of a warrior fresh off a win, steady, sharp, and already eyeing the next battle. Hours later, Los Angeles Chris Rock went live on Instagram from his luxury apartment. The camera wobbled as he held the phone, the glare of overhead lights bouncing off his still furious expression. Within 10 minutes, over 200,000 viewers tuned in, the number climbing rapidly into the millions. "Yo, everybody," he said, voice rough, strained. "I just left that circus of a talk show and I'm not letting that kid Karoline Leavitt think she beat me. I'm Chris Rock. I don't lose. Especially not to some spokesperson reading numbers off a page like a robot." The comments started flooding in. "Right on, Chris. Take her down. She crushed you, bro." Rock paced the room, arms flying like he was back on stage. "She called me a clown. I got 50 million followers, 3 Emmys, 2 Grammys. What's she got? A White House desk and some GDP stats nobody cares about." He barked a laugh. "I'm talking about Melania Trump. She's a luxury prisoner, and we all know it. I bet she started writing those divorce papers the second Trump stared at the eclipse like a damn lunatic." He pointed straight into the camera. "I don't need charts. I got eyes. Y'all see it." But as his voice climbed, so did the divide in the comments. "This is hilarious. Karoline already won, man. You're yelling too much." Chris didn't slow down. "She says Melania did 50 charity events? I bet that was just to avoid sleeping next to Trump." He grabbed a paper from the table and waved it dramatically. "I've got stats too. Trump went bankrupt 6 times. Casinos, airlines, Trump University. And Melania, she's his biggest flop." He stopped, breathing hard. "She says I'm washed up? I made 20 million off one Netflix special. What does she make? 180K a year. I'm not losing, I'm burying her right now." He slammed the table. The camera shook again. "She thinks applause wins arguments. I've got millions watching me. They know who I am. Karoline Leavitt, you can't beat me. I'm the king of comedy." But the comments were shifting. "Chris is still the man. Nah, she got you. Be real. You're spiraling, dude." At the White House, Leavitt sat with her media team, watching the live feed on a laptop. Rock's voice blared through the speakers, unfiltered and raw. She raised an eyebrow, amused. "He's just digging the hole deeper," she said, turning to her assistant. "Draft a response. Sharp, clean. We end this now." Minutes later, Karoline's official account posted on X. "Chris Rock can yell loud, why, but truth doesn't need a mic. Zero proof, just noise. Who won?" The post exploded. Tens of thousands of likes in under half an hour. Memes followed. Fast. One showed Rock mid-yell captioned, "When you lose but won't admit it." Next to it, a serene image of Leavitt with the words, "Truth always wins." Back on the stream, Chris spotted her post in the live comments. He froze for a beat, then snapped, "What did she just post? Zero proof? I got proof." Melania's avoided. "Trump like the plague since 2016. I bet they haven't slept in the same room in years." His voice cracked as he shouted into the mic. "She calls me zero? I've got 50 million followers. What's she got? 200K on X, please." He jabbed a finger at the camera, wild-eyed. "She thinks numbers matter? I don't need stats. I've got truth. Truth that makes people laugh." But the comments shifted. Even harder. "Bro, take a breath. She didn't even raise her voice and still owned you. You're losing this, man." In the news, MSNBC aired a segment breaking down the online war. A split screen showed Rock ranting while Leavitt's post sat calmly beside it. "Chris Rock's trying for a comeback," the anchor said. "But Leavitt's holding the high ground. She's not yelling, she's not scrambling, she's letting the facts and the public can speak." Memes flooded social media. Rock slamming the table. "When you lose but keep shouting." Leavitt smiling. "When you win without a mic." The public tide turned. Karoline took him down twice, live and online. "Chris needs to chill. Leavitt's too strong." Chris kept streaming, voice now hoarse. "She thinks one post can beat me. I don't care. I got millions watching. Melania's a prisoner. I don't need proof. I am the proof. She's Trump's puppet. I'm Chris Rock, I don't lose. But the viewer count told a different story. Million. Then 1.8. Then 1.5 million. Negative comments piled in like bricks. Let it go, man. She already won. Chris stopped mid-rant, breathing heavy, eyes flickering with something close to doubt. I'm not losing, he whispered. But the fire had faded. His voice lacked conviction. Then, the screen cut to black. The live stream ended without warning. Back at the White House, Leavitt refreshed her X feed. Her post had passed 50,000 likes in just 30 minutes. She leaned back, calm and composed, the glow of the screen reflecting in her eyes. The war wasn't over, but the battle? That was hers. She turned to her team, calm and composed. He just finished himself off. Keep the lead. We don't need to say another word. Her assistant nodded. You won, Karoline. The public's with you. Leavitt smiled, steady and sure. I know. He yells loud, but I've got truth. And truth always wins. Los Angeles. Chris Rock sat at his apartment desk, the desk lamp, casting a tired glow across his face. Tony, his longtime manager, stood nearby, phone in hand, concern written all over him. On the table, a cold coffee, a laptop screen still showing the live stream stats. Once 2 million viewers, now dwindled to 800K when it cut off. Rock slammed his fist on the table, voice hoarse. How'd this happen, Tony? I've got 50 million followers. Why'd they side with her? She called me a clown, he muttered, and now the whole world's laughing at me. Tony sat across from him, voice calm but firm. You yelled. Too much, Chris. She had stats, arguments. You had volume. Fans love you. But this time they wanted truth. Chris shook his head, eyes red. I told the truth. Melania's a prisoner. I don't need numbers, and I've got eyes. They've got eyes. Tony placed a hand on his shoulder. But she proved it, Chris. You've got to stop. Rest. She won. Rock shot up from the chair, pacing. Stop? No way. I'm Chris Rock. I don't lose to a 27-year-old government mouthpiece. I'll do another show. I'll crush her. Tony stood too, firmer now. Chris, listen. She didn't just win on the talk show. She won everywhere, the news, social media. You lost 500,000 viewers live. People are tired of yelling. Rock collapsed back into his chair, hands cradling his head. I didn't lose, he whispered. I can't lose. But the fight had drained from his voice. All that remained was the stunned silence of someone who'd never tasted real defeat until now. Washington, D.C. The White House Leavitt sat in her office, sunlight pouring across a desk littered with notes. Her brown-haired assistant walked in, tablet in hand, glowing. Karoline, have you seen this? Your ex-post, or it's exploding. The public's all in. Rock hasn't said a word since the stream. Leavitt looked up and smiled, composed. Good. He finished himself off, like I said he would. She closed the folder on her desk. We don't need to say more. Truth already did the work. The assistant grinned. Every major outlet's backing you. CNN's calling you the silent hero. Even Fox is saying you crushed Rock with facts. Leavitt gave a small nod. I don't care about titles. I care about protecting the president's family. Rock can yell all he wants, but he can't undo the truth. She stood, walked to the window looking out over the White House lawn. Prep a final statement, she said, her tone unwavering. Highlight Melania Trump, a dedicated First Lady. Make it clear. Chris Rock was just noise. We're done. Here. The assistant typed rapidly. Got it, but what if he comes back? Leavitt turned, a cold smile forming. He won't. He's got nothing left. He screams loud, but I've got truth, and the public's seen it. The assistant nodded, leaving the room with clear admiration in her eyes. In the media, news coverage ran wild with the fallout. An MSNBC analyst summed it up. Chris Rock underestimated Karoline Leavitt. He thought fame and fire would win the day. But she wielded truth like a scalpel, and that cut deeper than any punchline. CNN played Leavitt's ex-post again, bold letters. Reading, Karoline Leavitt won. Chris Rock, Zero social media had chosen its side. Rock's done. Karoline's the new star, and she didn't even have to yell. Back in LA, Rock sat in the dark, his phone turned off, dodging notifications and comments. He held his cold coffee like it was the last anchor to his identity. Tony stood nearby, quiet. "Chris, you need time. She won this one, but you'll bounce back." Rock didn't look up. He just whispered, "I didn't lose. I can't lose." But his voice cracked, not with anger but with disbelief. He had been the king of comedy. But against Leavitt, he wasn't a king. He was a shadow of what he'd been, caught in the silence after the punchline that never landed. Final moves public. Sentiment swung fully in Leavitt's favor. Rock's Leavitt still trended, but now with headlines like, "Karoline Leavitt, the woman who silenced Chris Rock." "No mic needed." Leavitt's quiet victory. CNN aired footage of Leavitt smiling. At a press conference, the ticker read, "Leavitt triumphs, Rock retreats." Chris Rock disappeared from the spotlight. No follow-up streams, no statements. The battlefield was hers. In the briefing room, Karoline stood before her team, reading her final statement. "Truth always wins. Melania Trump is a dedicated first. Lady Chris Rock? Just noise." She set the mic down. Her confident gaze swept the room. Her assistant smiled. "You did it." "Karoline, he's gone completely quiet," the assistant said. Leavitt nodded, composed. "No more words needed. The wind's already clear, not just on the Pulse stage but in the public's eyes." The clash between Chris Rock and Karoline Leavitt wasn't just a TV moment. It was a snapshot of modern America. It laid bare the collision between entertainment, politics, and the lightning-fast influence of social media. In an age where platforms like X and TikTok drive public discourse, the showdown between a legendary comedian with punchlines and a sharp young politico with poise revealed what really resonates. Chris Rock brought his fame, his volume, and his jabs. Melania's "A luxury prisoner" was meant to shock, but Leavitt didn't flinch. She fired back with data. 50 charity events, 15 diplomatic trips, and 87 press appearances. Her calm delivery and razor-sharp rebuttals cut through the noise. This wasn't just a battle of personalities. It reflected a growing shift in America. Emotion and celebrity still pull weight, but facts and focus are clawing back ground. The real takeaway? Truth matters, and so does the way you wield it. In a culture fragmented by opinions, outrage, and viral moments, there's a lesson here. Prepare deeply, speak clearly, and stay grounded. Rock lost not because he lacked talent, but because he let anger lead. He streamed with no strategy, shouting, "I'm Chris Rock," like it was a shield. Leavitt, by contrast, anchored herself in the facts, GDP stats, documented events, calm under pressure. In today's digital battleground, the ones who win aren't just the loudest. They're the most prepared. So when the next drama hits, whether it's political, cultural, or personal, take a page from Leavitt. Skip the yelling. Bring the receipts. Respond with reason. That's how you don't just survive. You win. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because in this story, either Rock finds redemption or Leavitt proves lightning strikes twice.